Thank you all for coming to our Funders Roundtable and taking out time out your busy schedules today. So we're going to begin with a welcome from our mayor, Julia Arata Frata, who has been elected mayor of Fitchburg since April of 2023. She has 20 plus years of business and accounting experience, strong financial and community leadership, and also was a former alder for 8 years and served as Common Council president. Her priorities has really have been working with affordable and workforce housing, public infrastructure, smart growth support, and support for vulnerable neighborhoods. So with that said, I welcome our mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Laureen. Good afternoon, buenas tardes, welcome everyone to Fitchburg. I am Mayor Julia Arata Frata, and I want to thank you, all of you, for joining us to discuss one of the most pressing challenges, and also I think that is greatest opportunities, that all the communities in Dane County we are facing and in the nation is housing. The city of Fitchburg is actively pursuing solutions to address the region's widening housing affordability gap, with a focus of expanding access to workforce housing. In Fitchburg, we believe housing is the foundation of a strong, inclusive, and thriving city. Over the past year, we have taken bold steps to make housing more attainable for families, or we are implementing policies to make this happen for our seniors and our workforce. Through our new initiative called Building Homes, Strengthening Our Fitchburg Community, we are investing in practical solutions that address the needs across the full housing spectrum, from rental affordability to home ownership support. Home values in Fitchburg have increased by almost 52% over the last 5 years, and I confirmed this number with our city assessor. As 2025, the city median home price has reached $504,000, putting ownership out of reach for many working families. We also recognize that local governments cannot solve the housing crisis alone. Expanding and diversifying local housing supply is one of my top priorities, and is many of the mayors that I speak in the region. But despite this shared commitment, local leaders face real hurdles, like outdated zoning and code regulations, lengthy approval processes, and limited public support. This is why partnerships matter. By collaborating with developers, not-for-profit, and Dane County, we are leveraging tools such as low-income housing tax credit and land banking funds to bring a new project to life. Projects that deliver affordable and workforce housing right here in Fitchburg. The dream of home ownership feels increasingly out of reach for many, especially for young people and communities of color. Across the country, young people with good jobs still struggle to buy the first home. The barriers are clear: rising prices, inflation eroding savings and wages, high mortgage rates, and the growing challenge of saving for a down payment. And this is what we're going to discuss today. Recent data underscore the challenge. In 2025, the number of first-time buyers dropped to a record of 21%. I see the reality personally. My own children are in the mid-20s with good career and jobs, and yet buying a first home, I think they're going to be out of reach for them for a long time. A recent Coldwell Banker report found that 53% of aspiring homeowners don't expect to buy until they're 40 years old. Okay? So meanwhile, America now needs to earn or make roughly $141,000 to afford a median price home, while the average U.S. salary is approximately half of that amount. And the National Association of Realtors sum it up well. They say that today's young adults face a decade of lost housing wealth gains. To confront this challenge, Fitchburg has committed $10 million from the closure of 3 successful incremental tax districts to support affordable and workforce housing. This fund will be allocated to, and Lauren is going to play more in detail all of this initiative. We are going to invest in rental rehabilitation, create a deferred loan fund that we already create one. We are going to launch a banking and acquisition effort to allocate $2 million for infill and redevelopment. We are going to establish a $2.5 million down payment assistance to help working families here in Fitchburg to buy the first home. We are going to create an emergency housing fund for seniors, add a workforce unit in market rate apartment building that we already did our first pilot, and it was approved by council 2 weeks ago. So we know that progress takes partnership. Solving housing challenges requires a strong collaboration between the public and the private sector. Finally, we are also recognized that building more housing requires modern and flexible zoning. This is why we are planning to revise our zoning code next year to remove barriers, simplify processes, and support the missing middle housing. We have already made targeted zoning updates to allow greater density and smarter growth in key areas in Fitchburg. All of this work reflects a simple truth. Housing is a form of community infrastructure. It strengthens our economy, supports our schools, and enhances the quality of life. Today's discussion is an opportunity to share ideas, sorry, my Spanish came to me, foster partnership, and continue to work of ensuring that everyone, no matter their income or their stage of life, can call Fitchburg home. So thank you for being here, gracias, and for being also part of the solution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I want to acknowledge also our council members. If you could stand up or wave your hand. Thank you. It's really great to work for a city that really supports growth and also encourages of more affordable housing. There are some communities that don't support that, but this is a great community that supports that. So I just want to acknowledge that. So the purpose today, what we're going to be doing is kind of talking a little bit about a couple things. One, down payment assistance, and then also smart growth, which we are doing here in Fitchburg. So you're going to hear from staff members of what we're doing here in the city. You'll also hear from our housing plan consultant, Christian Fish-Peterson, who's going to talk about the housing plan that we are completing. And then also hear from our great panel of experts that will kind of talk about their lens about down payment assistance from their lens. So that's what we'll be doing today. So let me kind of share a little bit about some of the initiatives. Julia did talk about them. And these are the initiatives that the city is looking to allocate $10 million towards. So one is rental rehab, which we are already doing with the Efficiency Navigator program. This focuses in our healthy neighborhoods where we're doing some sustainability projects with some of our multifamily properties, things such as windows, heating, and we're looking to even grow even more in the next year. Another initiative is workforce housing or LIHTC or low-income housing tax credits to support both our families and seniors. Land banking and acquisition is something that we're looking to as also in our next year, really to try to build more affordable housing, both single family and multifamily. And then the point today that we'll be talking about is down payment assistance. Another initiative is emergency housing fund for our seniors, especially our seniors that are kind of income restricted, kind of the 60% area median income and below. Trying to support them in any kind of like maybe one-time repair that they need in their home, because we hear from our seniors that it's a big need to support them. And other public-private partnerships as well. So we are working with our consultant to kind of allocate different buckets of money for each of those areas, but those are our focus for the upcoming year. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the down payment assistance program. So this is just a concept at this point, and this is where I really need your feedback and support. So the target audience is to expand our home ownership for moderate income, also known as the missing middle. So that's kind of our focus for this. Looking at homes are in the target price of $300,000. We have developers that have reached out to us that are interested in building homes in our community, but I think having a down payment assistance to assist buyers would definitely assist them along the way. This will kind of promote neighborhood stability and long-term investment. Again, that target median income is 80 to 120% area median income. We're looking for first-time home buyers that haven't purchased a home in 3 years or more, and we want them to be owner-occupied. This isn't a home for flipping, it's just strictly for people to build wealth. For the assistance piece of it, we're looking for a deferred loan. It could be combined with other down payment assistance programs, so we're open to that. Again, that's where we really need your feedback on how we should kind of determine the layout of this program. And then the repayment of the loan then would be at the sale or if we refinance. And then the buyer would also bring in a contribution, maybe a $10,000 amount or more. So again, that's another piece that we're trying to determine how much that buyer would bring. Also, a possibility could be that we could match with an organization as well. So that's kind of the concept. And if you have questions along the way, feel free. So there's notebooks on the tables, and that's if you have questions. And we wanted to make this a more interactive time. So if you have questions after the speakers, feel free to raise your hand. And that's kind of the basis of it. Some next steps about this program is the administration piece of it. We could work with nonprofit lender partners, any type of banks, and then the compliance piece. I am the only person in housing, so definitely we could use some support in the compliance piece of it. Tracking the income, occupancy, and the repayment of the loan. We're still kind of determining if it's a loan versus forgivable loan, but we're thinking more of the loan piece of the deferment. How to layer this program with other down payment assistance programs, and looking for any kind of safeguards to keep this a long-term and affordability program. And then assistance, exploring more funding sources and collecting input from funders from this roundtable, kind of based on your feedback, then we'll kind of proceed. So that QR code that's on that feedback card, that'll link you to the website, and that's how I'll keep you posted on where we are with the program. We looked to launch this program sometime in 2026. Again, we're working with our consultant to kind of formulate this program as well, and then we possibly may do an RFP process, but we're still kind of determining that as well. So definitely, your feedback is greatly appreciated. And then I just kind of have a quote: Fitchburg's down payment assistance program will open doors to homeowners, strengthen families, and create generational wealth. And that's the hope that we hope to do here. All right, with that said, I would like to introduce our housing consultant, Christian Fish Peterson, who has over 30 years of experience in this area and is a great partner to work with in regards to our housing plan. So with no further ado, Christian Fish Peterson.
Thanks, Lorene. I'm happy to be here today, and we're in the midst of the housing study right now. We've started earlier this spring, I think it was, and over the course of the summer, we interviewed a number of people that are in this room. We did several focus groups. We had a community-wide survey that had a phenomenal response. Am I supposed to advance this slide, or I have that one slide? There it is. I won't talk forever. I have one slide, so I can't talk that long. But we also wanted to be out in the community meeting people where they were. So we went to the Splash Pad. We went to the Oasis coffee shop. We went to some of the other community events. There was a back-to-school event, and tried to talk to people about housing. It's interesting, and in the midst of all of this, I've been trying to sell my own home and buy a home. So I'm my own case study here. It's interesting. And it's frustrating, I'm sure, for many people who don't have access to a house. We were just talking about the inventory in the area. before this meeting with Jenny, the resident realtor, and other realtors in the area, and Ann. The problems are multifaceted, right? It's a issue of inventory and availability. And then it becomes an issue of resources for people who want to get into housing. We've even talked to people who, once they're in a house, they aspired to home ownership, but then they weren't able to keep it up. They weren't able to keep up with all the investment that it takes to maintain that home. So how can we assure that in Fitchburg, people are not struggling with those issues? One of the main focuses for me, the name of my company is Redevelopment Resources. So we always look to what can we do with the existing housing stock? Because that's where most of our affordability is going to occur, in that existing housing stock. So how can we create a homeowner rehab program here in the city of Fitchburg that helps existing homeowners or people who want to buy a home buy something that is affordable and accessible? We'll be putting some details to a homeowner rehab program. Fitchburg is not a CDBG entitlement community, and we realize that some of these funds might be able to be used in that format, like many CDBG entitlement communities use those funds to create homeowner rehab programs. So we'll be looking at, if you have feedback on how those programs work, good and bad, let me know. I've administered a few programs like that across my career. But we're looking for, we're then going to be fleshing out details on programs like the down payment assistance program, rental rehab, and other, to just make sure we have that existing housing stock in shape. And then we can look at, of course, building new housing is always going to help, but it's not going to help everyone. And this community is interesting in that it has land to build, but but it's not always available. And it's got a lot of land in Fitchburg, but it's not available necessarily. So those are some of the interesting challenges that we're trying to untangle and create a path forward. So happy to be here, and if you have any feedback or questions about the housing study, please let me know. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Again, this has really been a great partnership. We've learned a lot along the way, especially with our surveys and stakeholder interviews, and we've really got a lot of great feedback from our community regarding this. So, the next thing is we have a community or a neighborhood that's called Terra Vista, and this is kind of a model that's focuses on sustainability, inclusivity, walkability, and green spaces. This area kind of focuses on our missing middle. We'll hear from Deanna Schmidt, our planning director, that will kind of talk about this neighborhood and then also what we're doing in regards to smart growth. So I'll introduce again Deanna Schmidt, our planning director. Again, a great partner to work with our economic development department, really assist us with the zoning piece of it, and then kind of educating us on the best places to do development. So with that said, I will introduce Deanna Schmidt. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I thank you very much for having me here today. Since we opened up with Terra Vista, I'll say a few words about Terra Vista. It's one of our very special neighborhoods, and it's been under development for probably well over 10 years now. And we're actually moving into one of our final phases of development. And Terra Vista is one of our smart code neighborhoods, which, as I'll talk through my comments here, I'll try to focus on sustainability, vibrant and equitable communities. And Terra Vista really does embody all of those. Lorene mentioned that Terra Vista has some middle housing. Terra Vista is very interesting under Smart Code. It's a zoning district that's not based on your traditional uses, but based on form. So you can put a small little coffee shop in the middle of a residential district, and it really caters towards incorporating natural features into the urban environment. It allows those smaller lots. It allows also multifamily, mixed use. It's a great place to just kind of explore. I think one of our really special types of zoning that we have in our toolbox, which is smart code, how that it does really make housing and a range of housing, brings it together in one place. So what I'd just kind of speak a little bit, once again, sustainable, also equitable and vibrant is what I'll talk just briefly. Sustainability is a very important concept in how we approach planning and development in Fitchburg. All of our development stresses multimodal, so that we have bikes and looking for ways to incorporate transit in new development. We also are very conscious of preserving trees and woodlands. We do have a tree preservation ordinance in Fitchburg. One thing that I find that people don't know so much about, Fitchburg is actually well over half of our land area is farmland, farms and fields and natural areas. And so this mix in Fitchburg between sustainability, sustainable growth, and farmland preservation is absolutely crucial to what we do here. We recently passed a new zoning ordinance that looks at solar energy and clarifying where and how that is done, and ensuring that solar energy production is allowable in all of our zoning districts. And then we recently completed our first sustainability plan as a city that will guide our efforts over the next 5 years. I'll speak just briefly about how equitability is a big important piece of how we approach planning in Fitchburg. So mobility choice, bike, ped, transit, that weaves its way through our comprehensive plan, our neighborhood plans, and even at the site development level. We clarified that we do not have parking requirements in the city of Fitchburg earlier this year. So that means for a specific use, there is not a certain number of parking spaces required. And in September of this year also, under Mayor Arata-Frada's leadership, we enacted zoning changes that explicitly allows middle housing to advance our goals for affordable housing and small-scale commercial development. That same ordinance also enabled our ADUs in all of our residential zoning districts. And then I'll just speak briefly about our Healthy Neighborhoods initiatives. Since about 2016, 2017, Fitchburg has an explicitly worked with our priority neighborhoods. These are some of our older neighborhoods in Fitchburg, and in a multifaceted way, through our Neighborhood Navigator program, through our Healthy Neighborhoods grant program. And then we incorporate policies and procedures that really encourage density that would support future transit development. Finally, I'll just talk a little bit back. With the zoning changes enacted in September, we also created a new zoning district that allows multi types of housing in a higher density urban format. That's also a mixed use kind of zoning district. And so that would encourage small scale commercial incorporating in residential areas. And then I'm circling back to our smart code districts. Terra Vesa is one of our smart code neighborhoods, and happy to talk further about that. We have 3 smart code neighborhoods, and we're working through the development of a brand new portion of one of our smart code neighborhoods in 9 Springs. And then we focus on community character, which site design, quality materials, walkable, attractive streets as we go through our development process. So that was probably a whole bunch, but there's a lot of different things that we are working on. I'll just wrap up with a couple of comments and encouragement. The city is kicking off our comprehensive planning process here at the beginning of the year. We will be doing a complete rewrite of our comprehensive plan, followed by a complete rewrite, as the mayor mentioned, of our zoning ordinance. And this is just a wonderful opportunity for everyone in this room to be involved and help us shape that so that we do have affordable housing and housing opportunities for everyone. So thank you all.
All right, thank you again, Deanna. We're moving on to our panelists. We have moderating today Bill Connors, who is the Executive Director of Smart Growth Greater Madison, and he's been the Executive Director there since 2020. Also, he's the former City Council President in Sun Prairie, and also a former City Administrator. Additionally, Regional Leader in Advocacy for Housing Supply and Development Affordability. We also have Chad Lawler. He's the Executive Director of Madison Area Builders Association since 2018, award-winning association government relations leader, and created innovative workforce development pipelines with Boys and Girls Club and McKinsey Workforce Center. We also have Tiffany Malone, who is the realtor with Alvarado Real Estate Group, and she's also the co-creator of Own It Black Wealth. And then we also have Olivia Perry, who is the senior planner with Dane County Planning and Development. And she's been a really great asset for here in Fitchburg and with the regional housing plan. Her work spans through housing, economic development, and leading local food groups. And thank you for our panelists. With that said, I'm going to hand it over to Bill Connors.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. I'm going to go to the panelists here in just a moment, but I'll say a few words about my organization and what I do. So smart growth means different things to different people. And my organization, Smart Growth Greater Madison, a little bit about our history and what we do. The organization was created as Smart Growth Madison over 20 years ago by a group of local Madison area developers who felt they were concerned that the Madison Common Council was making decisions about ordinances and policies that were adversely affecting real estate development and the local economy. And it seemed like they were doing that without complete information about what the consequences of what they were proposing to do. So Smart Growth was created to fill in that missing information, to help policymakers have a complete picture, complete information before making decisions about new policies and new ordinances that affect real estate development. And along the way, the name changed of our organization from Smart Growth Madison to Smart Growth Greater Madison because we started working with city governments and village governments throughout Dane County. Our members include not just real estate developers, but also architects, engineering firms, environmental consultants, general contractors, other contractors, commercial lenders, building management firms, commercial realtors, insurance brokers, accounting and consulting firms, law firms, pretty much any business that's involved in real estate development or construction in the Dane County area. So along with our allied organization, the Madison Area Builders Association, our organization, Smart Growth, is a source of very broad and deep expertise about real estate development, including housing. So for terms of a perspective about on the ground, what does housing look like and how is it getting built, our two organizations are a great source of information about that. So somebody mentioned, it was the mayor, mentioned about the age of people first getting, being able to buy their first home, and that nationally is now 40 years old. That's the average age of the first-time home buyer. If we want to stop that from getting older and older and reverse that trend, if we want to not have rents in Fitchburg and throughout Dane County continuing to spiral upward, there are two things we need to do. And by we, I'm talking about a very broad we. So who needs to be involved in this? Well, local governments, obviously, state government, federal government, real estate developers, home builders, and probably employers and lenders as well. We need a very broad group of people working collaboratively on this if we're going to successfully address it.
You forgot planners.
And planners. Sorry. Planners. Well, I put them under local government. Two things we need. We need more supply of housing. We need enough supply to keep up with the demand that's growing because the county's population is growing, because this is such a great place to live and to start a business and expand a business, that people keep moving here for the economic opportunities, and that means we need more housing, because we need a supply that actually puts downward pressure on prices and rents instead of a lack of supply putting upward pressure on prices and rents. We need to take costs out of producing new housing. And I've got, I saw someone's cheering there. So I've got a long list of ideas for doing that, but I'm not going to go into them here. I want to get to our panelists. So I'm going to kick off with Tiffany. So Tiffany, talk about what sort of barriers are you seeing to your clients when they're trying to make that home purchase, particularly that first home purchase? Where are the pain points?
The first home purchase, I would say for my higher income folks, I'd say there aren't really any barriers. It's more characteristics, 3-car garage, where is the sun setting in the house? But the lower and middle class clients that I have, the barriers is the home located on the bus line? Can I get my kid from one city schools or some prairie schools? Like, those are all barriers. And also, do they qualify for a down payment assistance? And if they do, there's a barrier if a seller will actually accept that offer because they do have down payment assistance. And if the other agent on the other end knows about down payment assistance or is aware of all the characteristics that come with that. So I think sometimes you find yourself teaching the person on the other end, as well as if the lender isn't aware either. So I think education is important, because if you don't know about these down payment assistance programs, it's problematic for everyone, the buyer, the seller, both agents.
So because it's still a fairly competitive market, I mean, I think it's cooled a little bit, but it's still fairly competitive.
Right now, I would say if you want to go buy a house, right now is the time.
Okay.
Homes are sitting on the west side of Madison at an average of like 19 days right now. Some prairie even longer. So now is the time. Do not wait until January, February. So I think that right now is a great time, but there still are, barriers associated with that.
Yeah, because I was just thinking, if you've got somebody who's making a cash offer versus somebody who's doing kind of conventional financing versus somebody who's maybe taking advantage of some of these other programs.
Right, we call them trickster moves. So, we can have a cash offer, and then once the offer's accepted, then you can rescind that cash offer and basically go get financing. So it's just to actually get your offer accepted. So people that have those means can do that, but people that don't obviously can't.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Chad, from the perspective of the builders, what's driving costs of housing? And what things can we do something about, and what things would be very hard or impossible to do things about?
Yeah. So really there's 5 different areas that make up, 5 different buckets that really make up the cost of housing. That's your land, you're gonna have your labor, lending, lumber, aka all materials, and then you have legislative costs, regulations, tariffs, et cetera. It's really difficult on the legislative regulatory area to really make a dent. Now, obviously, the lower fees kind of flow down to consumers. However, we do know most municipalities have levy limit issues that they're working with. It's really difficult for us as the industry to come in and be like, hey, can you reduce your fees? And then out of that 25.5% the regulation makes up of the cost of a home, much of it's at the state and national level. So from a local perspective, it makes it difficult. But tying into lending is time. Because time really can be a cost saver that municipalities have a direct impact upon. If you consider you buy a piece of land, it's $1 million. You're going to have to put $1 million in improvement on it. This is all lended, it's bonded. It's going to take you about 2.5 to 3 years before that first shovel hits ground on a home. And so that permit, the developer is holding $2.5 million plus in costs before they were ever given any funds. So really moving that process of approval along or changing the timeline of when permitting fees are instituted. If they're done at the building permit, obviously there's a level of delay that the municipality gets paid, but that's also reducing the level of holding costs and financing. It also opens up barriers for developers who don't have the same level of funds that maybe some of our more traditional, larger developers might have. Labor is a huge issue. Dane County's, for about the last 5 years, has built about 1,300 homes. We could build far more homes because demand is there. However, unfortunately, we don't have labor to do that. In 2005 to 2006, we built about 2,600 homes in Dane County. We have never come close to that number since. Projections say that we need to really build about 3,000 single-family homes a year between now and 2040, 2050. We're building 40 to 50% of that number. So it's going to be difficult until we add more individuals to the labor force to actually do that. We've even had national builders enter the market that have advantages, that can bring some of that lower price point. They can't stay here because they're bringing labor from other states just to fill their crews because there's not enough here to do it. One of the largest issues, though, is land. And this is something that we've harped on for many years. And I do have to give credit to a lot of municipal leaders over the last 2 to 3 years who have really focused on increasing land within their comprehensive plans. Because really, land is kind of if you're on the right side of the street, you're really wealthy, or you have the potential to be really wealthy. If you're on the other side of the street, you're selling your land at egg cost. When the comprehensive plan only has limited amount of land in it, that's really suppressing the supply, and you're going to see additional cost. Just to give you an idea, most of our developer members are now indicating that starting in 26, and if not in 26, definitely in 2027, you will not find a piece of land available for new construction that doesn't start with a 3. So when we talk about new home cost and wanting to hit a $300,000 mark, the land doesn't allow you to hit $300,000. So that's one of the large concerns. And when we talk about adding land to comprehensive plans, or if there's opportunities where municipalities own public land, if it's not all needed for stormwater retention or whatever it might be, public-private partnerships where the land that's unnecessary for, to meet the municipality's goals, to have housing developed on that. Generally speaking, if we can eliminate the land costs from that, we'll be looking at the opportunity to then lower into that price point. And that's something a municipality can do with kind of self-restrictions on the land they're doing in those public-private. But there's a lot of issues, a lot of things that can be done, though, and it starts really with the willingness to do it, and we've seen that change, where there is that willingness now. But focus on labor, focus on the land, and then focus on timing.
So maybe we can't ask for reducing impact fees and other fees, but maybe we can ask for not increasing them every year.
Not increasing them is helpful. I will admit that, yeah. I mean, we all understand that there's, the CPI increases, the cost of everything increases. Pausing on fees that are related to housing would be a great step. But again, the biggest impact would also be just delaying when those fees are required to be paid. Mm-hmm. That's something that obviously will take budgetary magic, because it's always magical in doing the budget anyway. But it's something to consider that I think would be important. But yes, let's not add to the cost whenever we can, because one of the things to note is every $1,000 that a home increases in price, 134 families in Dane County can no longer afford to finance that house. So a minimal amount that is increased really makes a significant difference.
And Chad, you mentioned, sort of time, holding costs, what that does to the cost of housing. Having a process that is predictable, where you know what the requirements are, you know how the process works, and you can know we're going to get zoning approval about this date, and we're going to get a building permit about this date, helps tremendously in bringing down costs. And you should feel good about yourselves here in Fitchburg because of the Madison cities we looked at recently. Fitchburg did the best on this front. So well done, Fitchburg.
Yeah, Bill, if I can just note one more thing too. Zoning by right and building by right is extremely important. There's actually a bill on the state level that would require that any land that's in a comprehensive plan that states it's zoned for certain items, if a developer brings in a project that fits that zoning within the comprehensive plan, it is zoned by right. The goal of this legislation is because the developers are creating plans, developments, they're spending a significant amount of money before they even contact the municipalities, and they're doing it based on a document that had significant research, significant community input, and then it allows them to then put forth that plan. In knowing that your zoning will get approved is significant versus coming into a plan commission meeting or a council meeting where some locals, a small but loud voice can make a difference in getting that changed or denied. I think it's important that any zoning, any building by right is something that should be considered.
Thank you. So Olivia, tell us about at the county level, what resources or things are available for the county level to help, say, a local government like a city government like Fitchburg to address the housing issues in their community?
I will say that Dane County, as part of the Dane County Roundtable, does have down payment assistance, but that doesn't meet the target audience that you're looking for. That's for folks who are 80% or below, and you're looking for 80 to 120. Well, I will share that we just released the Best Practices Residential Zoning Code Guide. It also has a worksheet that goes along with it. And this guide is expressly focused on helping municipalities identify expanding the variety of housing and therefore the amount of housing that they're bringing forward and the affordability of housing. The tool specifically focuses on increasing more efficient use of land and helping to address racial disparities in housing and homeownership. There are 3 parts of the guide that the first one is a zoning evaluation checklist where it goes through, lot size, setback, parking requirements. There's a section on model districts, definitions and guidelines, and then a guide to streamlining housing approvals. So this is something that just came out. We're going to have a webinar next month on it, and then this winter we hope to have trainings on this for plan commission members, local elected officials, and then later on have training or just a workshop specifically for planners and local government staff, people who are starting to work with it. There are a lot of different ways to update your zoning code. Some people do it all at once. Some people, want to just focus on the residential. But this really has the latest best practices. And this was the Housing Advisory Committee, mayor sat on it, and 8 other municipalities sat on the Housing Advisory Committee. So it's really informed by local municipalities. And for the most part, my work is outside the city of Madison. So Madison has its own thing, but this is really for smaller cities and villages outside the city of Madison. Online, rhs.danecounty.gov, Regional Housing Strategy website. That's one thing. We did put some seed money into the Regional Housing Strategy budget, $75,000 to conduct a construction workforce expansion feasibility study in our region. It's on my to-do list. To-do list is long, but that's very high up there. The other thing we did is, because my experience has been over the last 13 years, 14 years, that there's a lot of misunderstanding about growth and why we're growing. So we also have some seed money in the Regional Housing Strategy budget to create a multi-year education campaign to help residents and local leaders, business owners understand the nature of the housing crisis, how we got here, how it personally impacts them, their families, their workforce, and some solutions that we can look at together as a region. So I think that is also a big part of trying to solve the housing crisis. But I think, and I have this statistic here, one of the interesting facts is that when between 1980 and 1950 and in 1950 we were building homes, average square foot 900 to 1,000 square feet, and the city of I don't actually have it here, the population was 3-point-something million. Dial all the way forward to 2020. And we peaked at the size of houses to 2,500 square feet in 2015. Now it's slowly starting to go down. But over time, from 1950 to now, we have built, we started out with 28 units per acre, and we went all the way down to 8 units per acre. So houses are going out, population's going up. And so we sort of built our way into this, all of us. Planners, owners, builders, we're all responsible. So we've just created this perfect storm. So 2,500, 2,300 square foot, it's not affordable, right? I visited a production builder site in Stoughton not too long ago, J.R. Horton. They build houses all the same on spec, 1,500 square foot homes. Rear entry, alley loaded, $380,000 for a new home in Dane County. Unbelievable. Next month, you'll see it in my newsletter, we're going to do a tour of some of their projects in Wisconsin and Illinois. They also have ranches. They have houses on slab. They have one-car garages. There are all these things that we need to consider kind of going back to if we're going to create more affordable homeownership opportunities. I could go on forever, so I'll just stop there.
Well, that's great. That's great, because I want to ask Tiffany about that, about if we could in Fitchburg produce more modest-sized houses of kind of like the kind that used to be produced right after World War II, would that help? Would that help like your middle class or working families looking to be able to purchase that first home?
I mean, I think it would help because most first-time home buyers, either they have one child or two, or they are thinking about having a family, and that'd be a great starter home until they gain some wealth. But I think that we lack that because land, land is a thing. It's very unaffordable in Dane County, and then along with building materials and supply. So, I mean, we have clients, or I have clients that will want new builds, and we typically go through Veridian because, the lot size is 0.09 and the house size is 1,400 square feet, and you can get a cookie cutter house for less than about $400,000. That doesn't sound affordable, but for some it is, and that works. But there's not much to it. It's carriage style. There's no yard. There's nowhere for your kids to play. There's a little slab for your dog to go out and use the bathroom, and there's a little patio, and that's it. But that's what we can afford in Dane County. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So Chad, can we build more of those? Or what's what?
No.
Are there impediments to building more of those, or what?
Yeah, so D.R. Horton's kind of a unicorn in that they build 85 to 90,000 homes a year. They have purchasing power that no one else has. Their windows and siding they get for 50% less than the average builder gets. So They have some significant advantages. Obviously, to Olivia's point, though, like the average house over about the last 10 years has been about 2,600 square feet. It's down now to 2,400 square feet. It's getting more expensive, though, while they're getting smaller. So that same house a decade ago was about $320,000. Now it's $450,000 for 200 to 300 square feet less. So it would be difficult. I think the problem that we also see is there's a demand at the higher end of the market for housing, because even a lot of the current existing stock is being purchased by individuals with higher wealth who could be moving into larger homes that do not exist. So it's this interesting issue where we're like, okay, well, only 14% of Dane County residents can even afford a $550,000 house, but the ones that can aren't looking for a $550,000 house.
Right.
They're looking for a significantly higher priced house. It's not available. So what are they doing? They're doing cash offers or $100,000 over because they have the means to do it. And the individuals who are really should be purchasing at the starter point or mid-level housing don't have that financial flexibility or the ability to do that. Really, it's going to require building a lot of homes at every price point, taking advantage of, national builders coming in for D.R. Horton to hit some of those price points, of Viridian and Tim O'Brien, who's going to be at that mid-level point as well. But really, can we build it? On a general answer, no. Not fast enough, at least.
And I just want to be clear that I'm not even remotely suggesting that Madison Area Builders Association starts trying to mimic these national builders. It's just a totally different product. They have a different price point, a different margin, that's a totally different product. It's just, like you said, we need to bring everybody to the table.
Right. Yeah, and you,
Chad, have you ever had any experiences or thoughts on the trend toward tiny homes, like these prefab tiny homes?
yeah, we actually have a few members now who do tiny homes, and I think when you look at them from the market so far, it tends not to be individual homes. It tends to be ADUs that are attached to it. Or if you look at Bell Farms in Middleton's a good example, where they're developing and building homes that have an ADU already built with it. There's a shift for components of housing to be manufactured. Obviously, manufactured housing, tiny homes are helpful, but even on our general single-family homes, we're seeing a lot more where it's panelized walls, things of that nature, where it's at least limiting some of the cost, not really cost because they tend to cost more, but the time it takes to build them. But I think there's an openness to all types of building.
So I got a microphone, I'm setting it around. So,
Yeah, sure, thank you. Sean Paff, Realtor here in town. Livy, it's encouraging to hear the county say that you're promoting housing because that hasn't always been the case. The last 15 years, Terra Vesta was one of the toughest developments we got through the city of Fitchburg. As a former mayor, it's good to see that it's being applauded. But those planning decisions are very hard. It's good to see that the strategy coming out of the top of the county, not you at your level, but the county executive and stuff, is pro-growth. My question for the group is, I get the new housing stuff, and Jenny and I are out there, and Tiffany is out there. I think we're also missing one big piece of this. We have tons of retired baby boomers that live in houses that don't want to be in those houses anymore. Their kids had their bedrooms upstairs. They don't want to go upstairs anymore. I can think of about 7 different potential sellers in Tower Hill here that I've talked to, and Jenny's probably talked to them as well, that don't have anywhere to go. And Mike Zimmerman to my left and I sat in a meeting probably 12 years ago when I was sitting in Julia's chair, and we were shown a map by a developer that in 10 to 15 years, which we are now, you're going to have an incredible dearth of possibly 12,000 houses of people over 55 and older in the southern part of Dane County that have nowhere to go. We have to move that generation, because what's happening is the 68 to 80-year-old person that lives in Tower Hill right over here in a house that was built in 1974, they don't have anywhere to go, but if they do have somewhere to go, they want to downsize, and they're competing with a first-time home buyer. And they have cash because they just sold their house, and they don't want to live in an apartment, And so I'm getting in the weeds a little bit here, but the 55 and older condos are so badly needed in Dane County. Everybody is more or less healthy in this county because they got pretty good health insurance. And they will move. And Jenny and I will be happy because we're making money because we're selling houses in Fitchburg. But anyway, it's incredible to get that generation to move. So I love all that you're saying. Julia, thank you. Lorene, thank you. Deanna, thank you. Mike, thank you. But that's just that generational conflict that is just really crippling us right now, and it's so prevalent here in this area. So I guess I have a question. My question is,
Okay, go.
what do you want to do about it?
What?
I said, what do they want to do about that problem?
So if you have land, you can put out an RFP for someone to develop condos or townhomes, zero entry townhomes. If you have land in Fitchburg, that's one answer. But I will share with you that, since the regional housing strategy hit the ground June, number one issue is that.
Thank you.
The number one issue, seniors coming to me and saying, I can't live in this house anymore. I can't afford it. I can't get up the stairs. I'm crying. I don't want to move to another county because all of my network and my family, everything's here. It is a crisis. The senior housing shortage is a crisis. And so, yes, we need to do more. But if you do have that capacity, if you do have any land whatsoever, you could put out an RFP for condos, townhomes, zero entry. You could put out, who's there? There's a builder, I'm not remembering it, maybe you'd remember, in Illinois, that is literally building senior communities that are all one floor, ranches, single car garages, because often seniors are widowed or single. And it's Illinois, the land is a lot cheaper. But if you partnered with a developer like that and said, I need 50, ranch homes for 1,200 square feet or 1,000 square feet with one car garage, I think you could bring that forward. But that is the number one complaint that I've heard in the last year.
It's a bottleneck. That's where the bottleneck is.
Yeah.
There are many, but that is, yes.
Everybody can shift up and there.
Yep.
If you look at like Jamestown neighborhood over in Fitchburg district, kind of over by the Heidi. Great neighborhood. Average age over there is probably 50. You just can't get them. Anyway, I've said enough. I know. Somebody else.
So, the one point I emphasize, I'm going to get back to the microphone, that idea of, it's too bad we don't have a time machine. We can go back, because what we needed to do was build neighborhoods that were not all big single-family houses for families. We needed to have a variety of housing styles within every neighborhood, because people, part of it, their reluctance to move out is they don't want to leave their neighborhood. They grew up in this neighborhood, essentially, from being young adults to being, retirees and empty nesters, and they don't want to leave all those people in their neighborhood. And that's the hard part. Even if you build something for them in a different neighborhood, they're still reluctant to go.
Do you allow ADUs by right in Fitchburg?
I think they said yes, that it's now allowed.
Accessory, yes. Okay. So you could incentivize this as an alternative to downsizing, right? I have a big backyard, a tiny house, 10,000 square foot lot. Exactly. I would love to, build an ADU for myself and give my niece and my nephew my house, in not too long. But it's very expensive to build an ADU. So there could be part of your funding, your TIF extension funding, to help people, in the city of Madison, they just did a design build, and they're actually approving 3 or 4 different designs that they're basically going to, which is a huge thing, because most homeowners have no idea how to be a contractor, and hire an architect and then a sub and blah, 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 so they're making it really easy. But that is one way to, loosen up that senior, home ownership, by incentivizing or providing funding to people who, potentially, although, you could very easily take out a second mortgage if you're a homeowner and use that to finance your ADU in the backyard, but just a thought.
So I'm gonna before we go to the next question, is when I mentioned different levels of government, if we want more condos, there's state law issues and there's federal law issues that need to be addressed too. So we need,
Yeah.
we can't just do it at the local level. We need everybody involved in that. But Chad, Tiffany, do you have anything you want to say about how do we help the empty nesters, the baby boomers move to something else so their homes are available for somebody to purchase?
Yeah, it's so thought, but I know it's probably good to talk about
Oh,
it.
yeah, right.
So, but I think the big thing to understand, and as far as like the demand, and we hear anecdotal information, but in 2019, we had a developer who was looking to put a 55 and older senior living center on the south side of Verona. And in that they had a study done, and that area of South Verona, South Fitchburg was the number 2 location in the country as far as needing senior housing.
Wow.
Zoning was not allowed
Yep.
to do it.
Yep.
So as we look with, as Olivia brought up, the guide to zoning, many municipalities are looking and know about the solutions that are needed, but until zoning actually allows those homes to be built, a lot of municipalities, especially after the housing bubble burst in 07, 08, through up into out of the aughts, really changed zoning, not to be exclusionary per se, but to require big homes that bring in larger tax base, and really eliminated zoning for a lot of small, no lot line, no separation, eliminated the opportunity for townhouses, condos. A lot of municipalities also put in requirements where you couldn't do a condominium because the fear was most condos, when the housing bubble burst, turn into apartments. So you had approved it for owner occupancy and it turned into a rental. And then progressively, a lot of those projects went from very nice condominiums to very nice apartments to not so nice apartments to really not so nice apartments. So you see some of that, and I'm probably going to butcher it, but I think it was Glass-Steagall, federal financing regulation almost made condominiums impossible to finance. So we're looking at it now, and some of these things are getting better, but we're talking about 10 to 15 years worth of processes that have been put in place to eliminate the product that we now need. And again, I said this earlier, a lot of municipalities, their staff and electeds have done a great job over the last year or two trying to reverse these trends. But in some regards, they just don't even know it. And developers aren't coming into your community if it's not in your zoning or your comprehensive plan to allow for it. They're going to go to the community that does allow it, where it's already in place. It's going to save them time, and again, time's money. They're going to be able to produce that product without having to go through all these processes of getting conditional use permits or variances on every aspect of the build. So,
Tiffany, you got anything you want to?
I mean, I second that. I've been in several focus groups, and it all comes down to zoning, and that's the biggest culprit.
But it's also, not only zoning, but it's a code regulation too.
Yep.
Because then when you're building.
Building code.
Yeah.
Building code.
Because then when you're building like more than 4 apartment units, now the commercial code is started.
Yes.
I mean, and then that will increase the cost too. So it's something that we need to also fix at the
So-
building code.
yeah.
too.
Oh, no.
One thing, one thing to note on that, you can build under UDC for 4-plex, 6-plex, et cetera, using a 2-hour firewall. However, when it does require it to go to the commercial code, the units go up by $30,000 to $50,000. Just purely based on the code differences, primarily sprinklers, but they require constant flow tanks. They have larger connections into the city, sewer and water systems. They add a significant amount of cost just by changing what code you're building
And
under.
affordability.
Yeah, and then,
Yeah, and heavens forbid you try to change that because, because the fire department is going to say, you're threatening to,
we support the
people's
fire
lives,
department and
yeah.
the Builders Association.
Yeah. All right, so you had a question or comment?
It's changed about 5 times in this time of holding this microphone. But I feel like some of it's already mentioned. So what I established my nonprofit, its birthday is today. So 6 years of trying to do this is trying to find a way to do small scale senior housing. And it's a very challenging Rubik's Cube to solve. I've tried to propose it many times, and a couple times have been where I live in the village of Oregon. But it's also, what are other people doing? And there is a woman who's I think she had to come into Madison for the zoning. It's Hope in a Future, and she's trying to build multi-generational housing, and it's a condo unit. And she is just like, her time is running out on approvals. And it's hard. It's the financing of like, how do you take a risk on a small builder, a small development who doesn't have, the backing of the big builders? And I feel like if she gets it, then I can get it. So I cheerlead her all the time. But another person, the group that we need to bring in is insurance. Like, you cannot insure big condo units. You can't finance them. And so that's the other pieces that make it virtually impossible. Like, oh yeah, we can build it, but I don't have the money and I can't insure it. And so those are 2 other very important pieces in this process of how do we do that? And how we have structured it to be a condo is the life lease model actually helps seniors keep some of their wealth instead of it being a rental. And a lot of the senior housing out communities are life lease. But how can we do it in a way that doesn't extract their wealth, but like keeps their wealth so that they can remain independent and pay for, future costs of healthcare or whatnot? And I feel like, how can we, I love what Tiffany's doing, like how can they build wealth, how they can retain wealth, and how can they, as a community, I feel like this baby boom generation has the greatest opportunity to partner and actually be solutions to these problems. Like, let's bring them on and not say, well, this is what you need. They can be like, no, I can be part of the solution. So bringing them in and their expertise and what they bring, and keeping it in community. I always like to say it's a wonderful life when the Golden Girls can live at Green Acres. Yeah. So in this Christmas season, watch Wonderful Life and see how it is an affordable housing. I mean, it's not a real story, but how can communities finance it and keep their communities in it? So I guess I don't have a question.
Yeah, it's just.
We got somebody who has a thought. Kristen.
Olivia, my question is about the down payment assistance program you do have. Is it utilized? What's the utilization of it?
So I don't have the answer for that, but I do know that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars don't get utilized every year because no one knows about it. Not no one knows about it, but we just don't have, and Dane County Roundtable does a fantastic job, but I bump into people all the time who are like, I can't afford a down payment. I'm like, well, how much do you make? Oh, have you ever heard of the down payment assistance? They're no. So we need to one of the things that Dane County is going to be doing is putting together something called an All Things Housing website. We've got about half of it done. We're going to release it next year, but it's going to be like, if you're looking for a home to buy, if you're looking for financing, if you're looking for emergency rental assistance, if you're looking for affordable housing. So we can all start to direct people to these resources and then hopefully do some sort of marketing campaign where every municipality has access to it, can send out postcards so people can start having more access to this money. But this money is only for folks who are 80% or below.
Right, and that's why I was wondering
AMI.
If you had the funds, were they depleted? Did you have a waiting list? Were there, what was the demand for the funds you have? Because if that is true, if that's where the demand is, and Fitchburg is going to focus on 80 to 120, is that maybe they should be focusing on that 80 to 120% of area median income because you've got the other one covered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I don't, Maria, if you want to just comment, or anybody wants to comment on the Dane County Homebuyer Roundtable, I don't have stats on it, but
But it's not only up to HBRT either. It's up to the lenders. Like, we need to reach out to the lenders. It's the lenders
all the
who are
down
not-
payment assistance
who are
programs are
uneducated
funded
about it.
by different agencies. So like the city has one, the county has one. Tiffany's is part of one. So it's all these different agencies that Homebuyers Roundtable is just like the organization that is providing education to be able to educate the community on the opportunities of down payment assistance. But all of these, in order for these agencies to fund these down payment assistance programs, they have to meet HUD guidelines, which are you have to be under that 80% area medium income. So does that answer your question?
It does. I was just wondering what the demand was for that.
Oh.
So
for the city of Madison, for example, at this point, we have made 58, we're working on the 58th loan of the year, which is surpassing pre-pandemic.
Okay.
Like,
Oh, wow. Exciting.
Got my loan.
yeah, so like that's, so that's pretty big. And so that lends itself, and I don't know, Monica or like Sarah, if you can speak on the down payment plus for your member banks and like how that has been going. Like, have you reached your caps?
Yeah, with like Summit Credit Union, we get allocated $1 million from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Chicago for $10,000 to each household, so about 100. We've already depleted our funds this year too, and it's normally takes us the whole year, but I think it's getting more awareness out there that people are actually, loan officers are able to offer it out as well.
Same with us, like we still have the DPP funds, but the great thing is that we can layer with other different loan DPA programs.
Yeah,
like
most
moving
people
out,
get
City of
DPP
Madison,
staff.
like, yeah.
So yeah, it sounds like there's a variety of resources available, but how do we connect people with those? That seems to be part of the challenge. But it's good to know that there's a lot out there, and appreciate having so many people in the room who know about them. I don't know timing wise. Where did the Lorene go? I was going to see if we're how we're doing on time, or if we should be wrapping up here soon. About 10 more minutes? Okay. All right. We've been having a great discussion here. Any other questions from the audience?
I actually have a question.
Okay, sure.
Of course, you know. So to that point, I think it's really great. Something that I'm learning is that this growing the senior population, and even just what Olivia is saying about how do we get that education. I think some of the research that I just found is the seniors are more apt to go to a small business. So if they go to their Summit Credit Union, they're going to learn about the down payment assistance from there, and they won't look at it from, like, I'll say a government or, assistance. So I feel like keeping that in mind when you're educating that, as well as I think it's very important because the target that I work at is at 80 to 20, where I don't qualify for anything WIDA does. And because I was doing condos, I don't qualify for anything of the Federal Home Loan Bank. I don't qualify, for so many things because I'm 80 to 120.
Yeah.
So please keep that. And I would say, when you're for Fitchburg, when you're developing, these qualifications, like, can it be a sliding scale? Do they have to qualify? Do they have to make every point? Because I feel like there's so many seniors out there that, like, I would have qualified, but at that one thing disqualified me. Like, do they have to meet every single, like, point? Could it be a sliding scale of, like, okay, you make 4 out of the 6 things, or a certain bucket, or just trying to make it more flexible?
Can you be a little bit more specific about what they're not, maybe?
I don't know if she can go back to her first slide, but, like, what if they aren't first-time homeowners? Like, or what if they, like, all the eligibility she had, like, does it have to be every single one of those, or can it be 3 out of the 5? Like, could you be a little and make it just
certainly
easier?
Seniors downsizing. Should they not be eligible? Well, the thing is, if they have a home and they own the home, they can take out a second mortgage to put a down payment assistance on another
But
home.
you don't know.
That's true.
So, like, that eligibility, like, do they have to, like, maybe they haven't, maybe they haven't had a home in 1 year, or maybe they're moving from different states. I meet a lot of retirees that are moving to be close to grandkids. We were just having this conversation, So I feel like in that eligibility, like, could you make it just a little more
Expand it.
flexible,
Right.
because of the seniors that like really need that help, because what I'm doing gets no other eligibility, maybe because they own something or whatnot. So they might just be right outside of that area median income. But maybe, like if it's 4 things, could it just be 3 out of the 4? I don't know. Like,
And
there's
some
so many
seniors have
people.
done reverse mortgages, so they really have lost
Yep.
all the equity or half or a lot of the equity in their home.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like, could you just make it,
Make it more
more
flexible.
streamlined, make it more flexible, or that's my question of like in consideration how to make that just more reachable, and education through the small businesses like the realtors, like the banking, like they will go to their trusted, because they've lived here, so they will go to who they trust, and those are the people who should know about that. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I don't know if it was a question.
So maybe a lot of the education effort, marketing effort, rather than directly to the who would be the recipient, the consumer of the program, going to the people like the realtors who they would go to, the lending institutions or whatever. That's the kind of the target for the education.
Yes, go to the Bailey Brothers and building.
Very timely. I don't know if anybody else on the panel up here has any thoughts on that particular question, or.
I just say that we talk about it with anything in regards to housing is having flexibility. There's a lot of projects that come into communities that don't fit a model or into a box. If we think about it, Viridian really started bringing the alley-fed product into the market, but even when they started doing that, there was apprehension to that, and there was a lot of pushback. And even, Terra Vesta to that point had a lot of pushback. Who's going to want the small house? Who's going to want no yard? Well, then we found out that Terra Vesta sold like hotcakes, and that there was a ton of people interested in those homes, and now they're finishing up their final phase. I think, the developer would probably say probably ahead of schedule. So I think just having flexibility in all programming that we do and any concept of housing, because there's a lot of great ideas that our current constructs don't allow. So to your point, flexibility is an important concept.
Also, I think Terra Vesta did something too. They have a wine shop there. They have things that their homeowners can walk to. It's just not a tiny home.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talk about wanting to create walkability, and we talk a lot about times about, where the sidewalks go and where the house goes in relation to the sidewalk and things like that, which are all important things. But if you don't have any place that's worth walking to, not much walking going to go on. So if you've got coffee shops and other things that people want to walk to in your neighborhood, that'll promote walking as much as anything else. Where's our microphone? We got.
Yeah, one thing that I was getting together with people and regarding to the elderly not moving first because they probably have a lot of equity, or maybe they owe maybe a little bit, and they said, okay, why couldn't we do a movable rate? Like, okay, if I have a 2%, why couldn't I, with whatever I have left, move to a new home with that same rate and have somebody else coming in?
It's a great idea, but yeah,
They won't move because they have a great rate
Talk
locked
to the
in.
lenders behind you.
That's a Fannie thing, right? Gotta go up higher.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Lorene just asked me to share a little bit more about our comprehensive planning process, and Lorene will definitely link from her website to our upcoming website as we start off our comprehensive planning process. next year. And there'll be multiple opportunities for public meetings. We'll have surveys. There'll be extensive website. So just keep your eyes open for more information to come. If there's ever any question it's not hard to find me. You just go to the City of Fitchburg on our website and to the planning department, and you'll see my phone number and email there too.
I will say, I even though I'm not in Sun Prairie City government anymore, I'm very active in Sun Prairie City government, and they're in the midst of rewriting their zoning code, and I think they're going to take an approach that's going to be much more flexible, much broader zoning districts, et cetera. I know from monitoring social media that there are people gearing up to oppose that within the who want things to just stay as they are. They want their predominantly single-family neighborhoods to stay single-family house neighborhoods, and they're very fearful of any change. So for the mayor and the alder here, I mean, that's a challenge. Is you're gonna
every day.
Yeah, you hear it all the time. All right. So should we wind this up? I think. One more. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm just coming from the VIDA conference right now, and I've been sitting here listening to everything that's going on right now. So I own about 40-acre land in Fitchburg. I'm trying to redevelop that to trying to rezone it. So I would love to do that if the city and everybody allow us to rezone it and put in the future land use, and love to develop it as a senior housing, smart housing, and I'm upcoming developer here. I'm with the ACRES program, right? I'm taking ACRES program right now, so yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. So I really love this information, and I really like it. So I would love to do the senior housing and everything. And I also have a community who really after me to build the senior houses too. And we are all retiring, and we're looking for the. No, they didn't sold it. They have big houses, and they're looking for something small. I have a customer. I've been a realtor for 20 years, so I've been doing commercial and residential too. So I am familiar with all this. So like she was saying, there's nothing under 400,000. I mean, I have a lot of clients who are looking for houses under 400,000. We cannot find it. And I did the development. I'm familiar. I know Chad. He probably remembered me when I did in Welcome Drive. Yeah. So I have done development before in town of Middleton, where there was a lot of demand for that too. So yeah. So I'd love to do that. So if I can do it, so if the city allows me to change the zoning on that 40-acre I own here in Fitchburg. So.
Yeah, well, I thank you for sharing that. My organization, the developers in my organization are large developers with a lot of resources. All right, and the thing I try to express to mayors and alders and village trustees is, if my big developers are struggling with your process and the risks they have to take with your process, why would any small first-time developer take the risk of trying something in your community? And so, the rules for the big developers like my folks also apply to Steve Hanrahan and Habitat for Humanity of Dane County equally. And so it's important and I'm kind of sort of talking to the choir, preaching to the choir here in Fitchburg, but in other communities, I think it's important for them to understand that if you want to have, sort of a creativity and you want to bring in new faces into the development world who have great ideas and great energy, you got to make it so that it's not quite so risky to do it. So I don't know, Lorraine, are we good now?
Yes, so let's give a round of applause for our panel. And I also want to thank the Realtors Association that helped sponsor this program, and then also our staff, I forgot to acknowledge. So Mike Zimmerman, our Economic Development Director. We have Jenny Sanders from our Housing Advisory Committee, and Mark Hamilton also, our chair of our CETA. So thank you for being here, and thank all of you for being here. And please share any feedback regarding this forum, but then also how we can collaborate with down payment assistance. So thank you again for coming. And Fact TV for hosting all of this. Thank you.